Hello and welcome to the show. I am here today on Forza Horizon 5, going to be, well, building a rally car a little bit later on. I have got another custom rally stage. So I've sat about messing around in the kind of creator thing, whatever it's called on here, Blueprint Lab, something along those lines. And yeah, created this time we've gone for a point-to-point rally stage. A little while ago I built the twisty circuit that kind of loops its way around one of the smaller villages, and for this one we've got an actual proper stage that goes through, well, kind of this sort of an area. It goes off through the forests, goes through a lot of mud. Is an interesting challenge. Now, of course, to showcase this though, I am going to start off with a benchmark car. That's why I've got this Metro. It's a stock, a Metro 6R4, the exception being I put it on the off-road race tyres. I'm not quite sure. The PI doesn't change when I put the car on these tyres, so I'm thinking the standard tyres must be pretty similar to the off-road race. I'm not sure, but in the interest of fairness, I've gone for, stock car, but have put it on these compound tyres, because it will be the same as the whatever else I would build, essentially. So we're going to run through the course 3 times with this car and with the car that I later build, and see if the car that's built will go faster or not. But first of all, we're going to run through the stage. I'm going to show you the rally stage. I say in all its glory. Now, like we've had to in Horizon 4, like I've had to in the past, we've had to be a slight bit creative with the start line. You see, where I want the course to go, there is no start line nearby, which means I have to turn around from the Goliath off-road race. For some reason, in doing this, it breaks the first checkpoint. I don't know why. I'm not sure. I go through it clearly, and it says checkpoint missed, and then it teleports me back, and then we drive through it, and it's fine. It's weird. I don't understand it, but it is what it is. We will head up to where the actual start line is. So, like I've used in the past, because we have to do this shuffling around, I will set off at the minute mark from this start gate. We will then blast through the stage, and the total time will take away a minute from it. It's the only way we can do it at the moment, you know, when I'm trying to put in custom start locations. That's, yeah, just how it is going to work. And yeah, the rest of it, you can kind of see it snaking its way on the mini-map already. I did have the footage of building this, but something broke, and I'm not going to go and rebuild the whole circuit again, because it's a little bit of a fiddle to do, so this is why we're kind of running it in this format. Now, turn 1, I started putting walls around, and changed my mind about having sort of walls on the inside of these corners in this manner, and then it wouldn't let me delete props, so I just left the wall at turn 1, but we haven't got walls around the rest of it. We have got a big braking zone down here. Basically, if I get to the checkpoints, then I'll probably not cut the corner that badly through some of these sections, and there is some walled-in stuff coming up a little bit later. It's fairly sort of straightforward first section. It's quick through here, it gets a little bumpy over there, and then we've got this relatively big stop into a 90-degree corner. Now, this is where we start to get a little bit fiddly. We've got water section to try and deal with another water section here. We don't want to slide out too wide through there. That's why, because there is a log in the way. Now, this bit here is fiddly. There's quite a lot of debris around we've got to be mindful of. Now, I tried my best to stop too many corner cuts. There's going to be some, because I kind of built this as I went along, as in put checkpoints down and tried to put walls down, but because you can't test stuff and come back and move props afterwards, there's some places where it's a little bit funky. I tried my very best to limit those places, but it's not perfect. We're going to have to tap the brakes across the crest. It's a nice wide corner here. Oh, get on the power as we get spat out of that. I don't know, it's just sort of a mud pit, really, that the vehicles are racing through. So that's kind of our twisty section. It then opens up a little bit more down here, kind of make the most of, I say, top speed. You're going to want a good chunk of power for this stage. It is quite fast in places, but you are also going to have to deal with some of the twistier bits. We will get slowed down through here. And we've got a couple more corners to go. Ooh, don't get carried away. The Metro can be a little bit twitchy. That is, I believe that's how the real world car was. It had a tendency, it could potentially be a little bit twitchy. That's what you get with a lot of power in a very short wheelbase. But we are around the hairpin quite nicely. And then this is the run to the finish line. And there we go. That'll be the car across the line for our first ever run. It's a 2-minute 9.990. There we go. Nice easy time to remember, sure. Yeah, got to do the take a minute off. That's just how it's going to work for this. Okay, that was the first attempt. Actually, not a terrible attempt. Not a terrible attempt through the course. We'll run it again and see if I can go faster. So, we are on to our second run with the car. There were no real glaring errors in the first attempt, which is always, you know, always nice to have a solid benchmark. It was a little bit of sliding around, there was a little bit of twitchiness from the car that might have cost us a small bit of time. Nothing too bad. Try to be a little bit braver through turn one. It's sort of close to flat out, that first corner. It isn't flat out, I can tell you. Well, it will probably be flat out in some of the vehicles that we end up building and so on. In this, it's sketchy to try. The front end will grip, but the back end probably won't go with it, essentially. Over the crests we head now. Oh, this is where it does. It gets very light over that section. You're not really getting full airtime in the car. It's just moving around. One of the things I could maybe have improved from the first run is trying to find... Oh, it was not to do that. On wide again there. That is a bad thing. It's a whole load of time gone through there. And there's another log on the inside. I've got to be a little wider on the way through there. Yeah, that's not so good. We will get the change of direction through there. If we try and aim for... There's a fine line between taking such a wide line through a section as to avoid the water. Actually, you waste so much time going wider. I think there it's not so bad to go through the water. This has been not a good run through the muddy section. It started off poorly. It hasn't really improved on the... Yeah, that whole section. The rest of the run's been good, kind of, but the mud section... It's like always once you get out of sequence through there, you're in a little spot of bother. I guess we can kind of... This run I'm not expecting to be great, so if we kind of throw caution to the wind a little bit... Oh, okay, don't necessarily aim for the narrower bit of water there, because it tips the car around. I think... Because you've got to pull the car across so much there, I think you're better off just driving it straight. I think... If you can get it set up, if you have enough time to get it set up to aim for the narrow bit, great. But if you don't, you're better off just going through it straight, rather than run the risk of what we had happen there. It might be a combination of factors with the Metro, because the water's always going to mess around with it. It may well be the fact the car, that short wheelbase and the slightly twitchy car makes it a little more susceptible to that sort of twisting and spinning. Okay, that was a bad run. Good thing we hit that banker run at the start. Hopefully, we can improve on this final attempt. So this is the final run for the Metro, the last chance to try and improve the benchmark time, if you will. If we can be neat and tidy through the muddy section, I think there's a little bit of time to be found around the course. Let's see what I can do really with the car. Oh god, I've not got the sort of security in the back end of the car that I want through there. It's terrifying. It does just about grip, but it's only just about grip through there. It always feels like it's just on that knife edge ready to let go. And it's the same down here. The bumps, I think, what kind of makes it a little worse through all of this, because the wheels are not really on the ground properly. It's just wanting to move around a lot. Now, we know we want to be a little earlier on the brakes here, because we don't want to end up out wide in that tree branch. That will ruin your day. And likewise, we want to be a little wide. That one there on the outside you can hit, you're fine. It's the one on the inside that's the problem one that you really don't want to hit. Pull the car across. Oh, quite got that change correct through there. It's fine, we'll get away with it. That water there's not really deep enough to be a big problem for the car. So we will run through there. Go the right side of the trees in all of this. And now we're going to tap the brakes before the jump. It's not the biggest jump in the world, but depending on how fast you hit it, if you get it wrong, if you're going too quickly, you will just jump and miss the corner, which is not what you want. It was neatly enough done through that mud section. Now we can be fast through here, keep it flat out, even if the car's bouncing around and wanting to move. I'm not going to risk chucking it towards the narrow part there. I think the crests are kind of what messed the car up a little bit there. So I'm not gonna run the risk. Now we've got more bumps, we've got more elevation change. To throw the back end of the car around. It's a slide from the Metro, nothing too bad though. A couple more corners to go for it. We'll barrel in here. The banking will help the car turn. through that section, so you can actually carry a lot of speed on the way in, and it will still make the corner somehow. Are we going faster? It's close. It's a tiny fraction fast. Well, say it, Tyve is about a second, almost a second faster. 209 is still is still the speed from the Metro. So there we go. Yeah, a little improvement on that one. It's a good car overall. The back end is a little twitchy. That's the only thing I would say about it. The front end sticks, and I don't always trust that the rear end is going to stay there. Be easy to get in trouble. That's a trait of the Metro, full stop, really. So that is our benchmark to try and beat a 2:09 9.0. And this is the car that we're going to try and beat the Metro with. It is the latest Subaru Impreza to come to a Forza game. I mean, it should stand a pretty good chance in terms of going quicker. Well, in terms of putting up a fight at the end of the day. Now, there are going to be a couple of rules for building the vehicles, and if I use this track for a series or whatever, the rules would be, say, that carry on. Basically, the car's going to be built to A class. Yes, I know the Metro is an S1 class. It's only just in an S1 class, and it makes it a little bit of a challenge. Generally speaking, built cars are faster than the sort of stock cars, so it'll be interesting to see how it all pans out. And the other rule is the cars will run their standard engines unless they can't get the PI to get to the top of A class, in which case they'll be changed, and everything is going to be run all-wheel drive for this. I mean, that's generally a given. If it's two-wheel drive to start with, it'll be swapped. I mean, I don't know if this has any fun engine swaps. It has 4-litre flat 6 to be expected, 6.2 V8 to be expected, and flat 4 turbo rally. Yeah, kind of the usual engines, nothing crazy for the Subaru. It does, though, have a wide body kit option, which is suitably mad and silly, which I am going to take. Yes, I want the wide body kit on my car, because it gives me bigger tyres, and tyres are important. Now, we will naturally be running... Are they higher PI than the stock tyres? No, about the same, actually. Yeah, they are identical PI to the stock tyres, because we're building this for off-road, so of course we're going to want 325s. They're huge tyres on this thing. Of course we're going to want off-road tyres. We're in the mud the entire way around. What else are we going to want? I mean, I'm going to put... I mean, this is essentially free PI. We're going to put a diff in the car. Now, sometimes... I'm not going to be allowed to tune the vehicles. That's one of the things that we tend to stick with here. Don't tune the cars at all. We try to deal with the natural characteristics come with the vehicle. I feel like we might go for a race gearbox just in the hope that the gear ratio... The only rule as far as tuning goes is it will be tuned if the gear ratios are completely unusable. I don't expect that to be a problem with this car. It's normally classic cars that have the biggest issue with completely undrivable gear ratios. We're probably going to want some weight reduction. I mean, let's face it, even with max weight reduction, we're still 500 pounds heavier than the Metro. So we are going to go for that. Do we want the chassis rigidity that comes with a roll cage? I mean, okay, we've taken a bunch of weight out. We're going to put something back in. I think I do. I think we kind of want to go for this stuff here. Brakes. I mean, the brakes are pretty good from the get-go. We can save some weight with them, sure. Let's go for the brakes. I mean, the question is, okay, the first question is, do I have a silly wing I can put on the car? It's not really that. I mean, the standard wing is pretty wacky. I might go for that just for fun. It's dropped the PI down, so the aero does have a decent effect, quite sizable effect on top speed. Doesn't matter for what we're doing here, don't really need top speed. Admittedly, there are a couple of longer straights for this, but top speed is definitely not my primary concern in the slightest around this course. So we'll just go through here and stick on some upgrades. We're going to be running a good chunk of horsepower in this. Certainly not bad. We'll probably... Oh, not quite going to go all the way there. Can we get a stage of this? Oh, there we go. 481 horsepower. That's pretty good going. And then we'll do the... Can we sneak... We can sneak a flywheel in. We might sneak a driveline in, just in case. It's worth a look. You never know. Not the case with this. Let's sneak a clutch on. No. All right. So, yeah, there we have it. That is our vehicle ready to go. Just shy of 500 horsepower, just under 3,000 pounds. Very big tyres, though. That is something it has got going for it. Very, very light. I mean, the Metro has pretty big tyres, but they're not 325 big. And this will be more stable. That, I think, will maybe be the key difference here. It's not going to quite have the acceleration. It's not quite got the power-to-weight ratio, but I'm thinking the stability of the Subaru is going to be greater. Well, time to find out if that is the case. So, here we are, on the line with our Subaru. Ready to go, ready to see if we can beat that 2:09 stage time, if you like. I think it could be close. I think it stands a good chance of going well down here. We are off the line nicely, at least. Yeah, we're not quite going to have the crazy acceleration up towards turn 1. Can we go flat through here? It's, yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. The back end, I mean, it's still going to move around a little bit. It still wants to let go. It still wants to let go down there if you're not careful, but it's definitely more stable. I mean, that section there's actually quite nasty because it's a tight left-hander that you've got to sort of stick brakes on, but you're just coming off of a corner, so you've really got to get the car set. That's a little wide through there, wider than I would have liked. Okay, we can try and hold the car tighter through that section next time around. We should, in theory, be better through the water. That would be the hope, at least, that we would be in this. General, the heavier vehicles are better at cutting through the water. They get slowed down by it less, although it's not like we've got crazy ride height in this vehicle. We'll change direction through there quite nicely. Now, what is it like? The front end is happy enough to get turned in. Ooh, maybe turned in a little bit too much, actually. That was slightly, yeah, slightly too far on the turning point there. On the brakes over the jump. Here we go. Now, jump on the throttle up through here. Oh, okay. It didn't quite go as far wide as I was expecting. Right, little bit of learning to be done with this. Little bit of learning to be done with the Subaru. Now, we should be flat through here, no problem at all. The Metro was. I see no reason why this wouldn't be able to be flat through there. Into the water it dives. I'd like to be a little more stable through that section again. Is third gear working there? Yeah, I think so. I think it's working as good as any other would. This section here almost caught out the Metro. There's none of that oversteer in the Subaru. It just sticks to the road. It is good to go. We should say we would perhaps be flat through there if we weren't getting caught out on the bumps. Chuck it into the hairpin. We are running up towards the finish line. It's going to be close. It's not quite going to be quick enough, though, on this first attempt from the Subaru. It's across the line, 2:11 from the Impreza. There's definitely a little bit of improvement to come, I feel, for that one. Yeah, I think this is going to be close if I can get it all together. Okay, here we are for our second run. We've got a couple of seconds to try and find through the stage, which might be doable. I feel like the sort of mud pit area is going to be where, if we get it right, we can perhaps make up the most time from that first run. That first corner is way sketchier than I sort of realised when I built it. That's actually better through there as well. We should carry much more momentum through that section, which is good. Yeah, that first corner, it's so close to being flat out, but you kind of turn in and it's just, please let the back end of my car stick to the road. And we're also better through there this time around as well. Nicely does. It's Subaru. Okay, it's a better first sort of section, if you will. Now we're on to the difficult muddy section. Okay, this car doesn't have too much of a problem going through that brunt. I just don't trust that the vehicles are going to be fun, especially with that one there. That's the worst one. I think it's partially because we were at a much lower speed when we're going through it. It kind of has a bigger slowing down effect. It's in a bit where we're accelerating, whereas the one on the way into this kind of area, we're already on the brakes anyway, or we're about to, so it's quite as terrible. Either way, oh, that's not what we needed. Don't want to be brushing the wall. We're not going to be quite as fast across the jump as the Metro, perhaps. Still, I mean, that was with a little later on the brakes. You can see how easy, if you don't tap the brakes before going over that crest, how easy it is just to end up in a really weird position and miles away from the corner you want to be going around. Okay, we're going to be flat through here. Even with the big tyres on the Subaru and everything, it still does want to move around across those bumps. This time we'll line it up. Still wants to drag us across towards the inside when we hit that water, but yeah, it's not quite as violent in this car as it was in the Metro. Now, add a little lift. I was going to say, can we flat the whole way down here? But literally, no sooner had I started saying that sentence did I have a lift because I wasn't quite sure on the car. Into the hairpin, we throw it. Let's better. I think we're doing better in terms of the time on this one as well. Is it going to be enough? It's going to be really close, actually, this time around. Not quite. Ooh, we're within a second. 209.8 for the Subaru. We bumped the wall as well. We bumped the wall. There's definitely... if I get it all together, it's going to be right. It's going to be right there. Well, this is going to be it. This is the run for the Subaru to try and beat the, I say legendary rally car. It might not quite be as legendary as the 205, but everyone knows it's Fix R4 because it's a little bit wacky. The Route B monster, if you will. And there might be a chance for it. There might well be a chance for it. Ooh, okay, that time I got understeer through there. I took a slightly different line on the way in the hope of carrying some speed, but yeah, we got surprising amounts of understeer from the Subaru mid-court. I prefer that to the car bouncing around with oversteer on those crests, but still, I wasn't quite expecting that. However, it's still quite quick through there. We'll get on the brakes, get the car composed for that 90-degree corner. Yeah, third gear is what I want. I went down to second a little bit. Say unnecessarily. I don't think that really worked. But we didn't really lose time too much either from that. Okay, we're into the muddy section. Get as close to that log there as we can without hitting it. Now, be careful of the walls around here. Probably want to slow that down a little bit more. Change of direction over there is nice. Now, this is the... Actually, is this one where we hit last time? Possibly. It's a little tight on the way through there. No, it's this one here. We got the... It's like the transition. You can sometimes just lose the back end if you're not careful. We are cleanly does it through all of that. Across the jump we go. Get on the power, but don't understeer out too wide. There we go. Nice. Line it up for this next section. We cannot quite be flat through there. Have to have a little bit of a lift mid-corner. I thought we were going to be able to take that one flat. Again, it's a banked corner. I was hoping we were going to get away with booting it and have the car turn. Not quite. Into the water we head. Up the hill towards the next 90-degree corner. Don't want to be sliding it around unnecessarily. If we can help that section now. This is where we have had some oversteer from vehicles. Got very close to missing the checkpoint through there, but did just catch it. Again, we're likely to have a slide through there. Now this time around, Subaru will stay planted. Drop it down. I can never quite decide second or third what we want. So run towards the line now. Are we going to have done enough? Oh, it's so close. It's so close, but it is not quite enough. We're within half a second of the Metro, but it goes the way of the MG, a 209.4 from the Subaru. I mean, it went the way... kind of went the way that I expected it in some regards to go. Oh, we're going to have a wheel spin. We're going to get anything fun. Oh, one away from a California. The Subaru was more planted. It was more composed and easier to drive. In a race between the two cars, the Subaru is the one I would have. It may be half a second down around that, but you'll do that time a lot more consistently than you would with the Metro, because it is a lot easier to drive at that sort of pace. It just lacks perhaps the acceleration that you get from the Metro, because the Metro's got about the same power as this and is a fair bit lighter. So there we go. But it's a fun little stage. In fact, actually, what I will do, I'll just teleport back over. So it starts. It's not the Goliath, sorry, the Gauntlet. That's the name of the damn thing. I remember stuff. If you want to have a go with this rally stage, you are more than welcome to. I have it set so you can run whatever you like. We'll just go in here to the Event Lab Creations. And there you go. That is the share code for the circuit. If you want to go and have a go down here, test out some A-class builds and see what you can do. It's a good fun little stage. But yeah, there may well be a series around this one. There may be a series around the more technical or the really fiddly circuit stage that I built a little while ago, coming up in the new year. Let me know which one you prefer. There might be a poll at some point done on YouTube to have a vote and see what happens. Because I like both of these. They're both very different challenges for the vehicles, but they are they are definitely challenging for a rally car. It's good fun. I always like doing this sort of builds on Horizon games. That, though, shall be it from me. Thank you all very much for watching, and until next time, a goodbye.